here we go. This record button right here. Okay. Boom. Okay.
All right. We're good.
We're good. Okay. So, how should we start these things?
Do we need to do something to start it? So you line it up, right?
Oh yeah. You're right. Let's do like
We need one of those clickers.
I've got one. It's just not, it's in the closet. So.
Oh, well, you should have pulled that baby out.
Yeah. Well, you do a clap.
You ready?
Yeah.
Let me do it on screen.
Yeah, on screen, so I can see it.
You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Perfect.
All right. We're ready to go.
We're ready.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining the official first episode.
Official.
It's Getting Weird. Are we going to add the podcast in, or are we going to just call it It's Getting Weird?
I think we can call it It's Getting Weird. Like, that's fine.
Yeah. So here, It's Getting Weird podcast.
Nice. And we would like to say that we do have an email right now that is It's Getting Weird podcast at Gmail.
I think we should add the podcast in.
Well, yeah, but people will.
Yeah, I know that it'll get shortened. It'll get shortened.
Okay,
over time.
Should we start over or just keep it?
No, it's good. We're
okay.
fine.
All right,
we're just talking.
So,
what's the email again?
It's Getting Weird podcast at gmail.com. And the reason why we're saying that is if you've had weird things happen, experiences, maybe you've encountered a unknown creature or UFO or weird poltergeist thing or something like that, just email us about it, and we'll either feature it on the show or possibly have you come on and tell your story. So please,
so make it good ones.
Make it good, but also tease it a little bit, so maybe we don't know the whole thing.
Yeah, so we can fully react to the story in real time.
Yeah, if you call in.
Right.
So yeah, and Carrie, you've got some.
Yeah, are you
headlines?
Ready for these? You ready for this? So I think what we're going to do is, before we get to the main point, we'll just start out with some fun headlines to just sort of warm up with, I guess, or whatever. Get us in the mood for talking weird. So, first one is a bit more serious, but just kind of a crazy story.
Okay.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
It'll be okay. Human brain cells, ready? Human brain cells hooked up to chip can do speech recognition. You ready for this?
Okay.
So this is from
true or false segment, or is this
no? This is real. This is MIT Technology Review.
Okay.
So this was actually back in December 11th of 2023. So there's these things called brain organoids that they're growing from.
Organoids.
Organoids is what they're called. This is true. Okay.
Okay.
They're growing from stem cells. Clumps of human brain cells grown in a dish can be hooked up to an electronic chip and carry out simple computational tasks. New study shows.
Okay.
This sounds like it's a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, wow, we're in the future. Where are the jetpacks? If we can do that, we should have jetpacks.
Yeah, definitely. So this guy named Fing, I'm going to butcher this name like everybody says on a podcast. Fing Guo, Guo, and his team at Indiana University, Bloomington, generated a brain organoid from stem cells, attached it to a computer chip, and connected their setup, known as BrainAware, Brainoware. This is totally
like with an O.
comic book. Brainoware.
Yeah, this is the beginning of a supervillain.
Okay, this is yeah, right, exactly. It's an AI tool. This is an AI tool. They found that this hybrid system could process, learn, and remember information. It was even able to carry out some rudimentary speech recognition. It was able to carry out some speech recognition. So that they're thinking this is going to lead to some kind of new biocomputers.
Oh, this is so.
Are you hearing this?
Yes, I'm hearing this. This is like the creepiest thing I've heard in a long time.
So,
it kind of reminds me of. Do you remember that? Yeah, but do you remember that Super Nintendo game, Super Metroid?
Oh yeah.
With like the brain things,
right? Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that for some reason.
Oh, it's exactly what it reminds you of. Is a Superman comic or something, like.
I know. It's so crazy.
Like Lex Luthor is the one that's coming up with this stuff or something, Like I don't know.
Like why do we need that? Who's asking for it?
Really, it's more like probably like Spider-Man, like some Spider-Man villains like come up with some kind of,
right,
brain technology. I mean, this is real. This is real life now. That's what we're living in.
It's creepy.
So soon, our computers will have actual brains inside of them. It's basically what this is coming to.
Yeah,
which I don't even want to. I don't even want to get into the ethics of this yet.
Right. Yeah. But the ethics are out the window. Like nobody's thinking about that. Oof. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, all right. Here's a funny one. Okay. Ready for the funny one?
I'm ready for the funny one.
Okay. According to WKYC, I believe this is in where is that? Ohio. Lorain County, Ohio. Classes at Fireman's local district in Lorain County's Henrietta Township disrupted earlier this week to a person entering campus dressed as Bigfoot.
It's so good. Was it an adult?
This was last month on May. Well, it was updated on May 3rd, 24. Video of Bigfoot was posted on Facebook showing the costumed Sasquatch running past classroom windows.
That is so good.
Apparently, it was just some kid's dad who was playing a prank on the whole school.
It's just too good. Can you imagine like watching the security footage? Like you're like the officer on duty there and you just like watch the camera and there's just the Sasquatch turning and looking.
Right.
The video was posted to Facebook showing someone who appears to be wearing a Bigfoot costume running past classroom windows. A letter was sent to parents saying in part, quote, "While some people may make light of the situation, the fact remains that we cannot waver from the side of safety. The individual induced panic on our campus and this type of behavior will not be tolerated."
But anyways, there's my headlines.
That was a good one, the second one. Yeah. So that's perfect segue because I've got a Sasquatch story.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah. And you might have heard of it before. I feel like I had heard of it. But it was nice to go through all the details and stuff. So I picked up some books.
Oh, really?
Sorry, it's a little in the morning and I had a bunch of Mexican food last night and it sometimes that gets my throat kind of all
When
weird.
You say Mexican food, do you mean Taco Bell?
Surprisingly, no. I took a break on the Taco Bell for one night to go to an actual
I think Zach
Mexican
has tried every menu item at Taco Bell.
Yeah, I do love the Taco Bell. There's no denying that. The workers there know me by name and by voice and everything. So
From the drive-through,
yes,
they know.
yeah, oh yeah. Like I'll order, I'll be like, hey, this is, or I won't say my name, but I'll be ordering, and as soon as they hear me, they'll be like, all right, pull around, sweetie. Because they know it's me.
Oh,
and I always have my
funny.
dog with me, and they'll give like a little chicken for the dog. And sometimes she's
really?
she's not with me, and they'll still do it. So
good.
they're very nice there. But I picked up this book at a used bookstore. Let's see if we can see it on here.
Book of Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah. And and check out the price on this guy. Does it show it?
50 cents. There we go. Now we're talking.
50 cents. So basically all it is, it's kind of like an encyclopedia. It just has like a paragraph for each.
First, I'd like to say that's the most money we've spent on the podcast so far.
That's true. 50 cents. If it gets more than that, I'm out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like an encyclopedia. So I was able to kind of like look at Sasquatch stuff, and it would just give me something to jump off on and do some research. And so this one is an early Sasquatch story, and I had kind of heard about it. It is the story of Albert Ostman.
Okay, never heard of that. I don't think I've heard this one.
Okay, good.
Albert Ostman.
Yeah. And apparently, train?
Train. Yeah.
Nice. It kind of adds to the feel, like we're adding, like, let's go back in time.
This is the first time that's happened since I've recorded at home.
Oh, the train? Well, it's because we're doing it early in the morning.
That's true.
That's why.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, maybe we'll wait for that train to pass, but.
Well, they don't sound loud to me. It must be loud to you.
Okay. Yeah. What I'm hearing. Yeah. So this happened back in 1924 in
wow.
Yeah, British Columbia. In a place, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but Toba Inlet.
Inlet.
Yeah. So all the way on, like, I guess the West Coast.
Right.
But the weird thing about it was it happened. He didn't say anything about it until 1957.
What?
Yeah.
That's like 30 some years.
Yeah, where he like reported it to some local newspaper or something like that.
Okay.
Which, it kind of makes
what the skeptics are going to say.
Right. Well, that's what I was getting at, is because like at that point we had started to get Sasquatch stories in media and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, well, I mean that's when the whole you hate to say it, this show is about all these crazy things, but I mean, in the 50s, early or late 40s into the 50s, that's when science fiction was really taking off.
Right. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And even in movies and everything. Yeah.
Which I don't know necessarily means that people are just making it up. I think actually it probably made it easier for people to come up with their stories. Be like, oh, you think that movie was crazy? Well, listen, what happened to me when I was,
right,
20 years old out hunting or whatever,
Yeah, exactly. Now, his rebuttal to that would be something like, I think he was saying that he was scared to say anything about it because people would say he was crazy. But then once the other reports were coming out, he felt a little more like safe to give his account.
Yeah, sort of my point there.
Right. But the thing is, all we have is his account. We don't have like anything else.
Right. Well, it was what, 1920 what?
1924.
24, so like, cameras weren't even commonplace for homes at that point,
And he was kind of an outdoorsy guy. I think he was like a trapper or something, and merchant of some sort.
Right.
And so I'll kind of get into the story. Now, this is his story. That's all we have is just the report that he put, to that newspaper. And I'll just try to give overviews, and I might like read some of the snippets of like what he actually said, because there's there's some pretty good stuff in here.
Okay.
So apparently he wanted to go on vacation, and where do you think a outdoorsy guy around those parts, when you think of vacation, what's he gonna do for a vacation?
You'd think camping or something.
Yeah, yeah, but more specifically, he wanted to go try to find a gold mine.
Oh, okay, yeah.
On his vacation.
Makes sense in 1924.
Yeah, exactly. He apparently had heard about it, but he also heard that there were these Sasquatch creatures, and that he should be.
So he heard about Sasquatch already.
Yeah, that he should.
Interesting.
Be warned, because the guy that had all of the gold stashed away or something got taken away and killed by Sasquatch or something.
Goodness.
That was the legend, I guess.
Okay. So Sasquatch was already almost kind of well known at that point in time.
Well, I guess, I don't know. I mean, he had just learned about them from that legend. And so he let's see. I think I had a quote from there. Yeah,
it's just like when you think about American Sasquatch stories, like you don't think of nothing until like the Peterson film,
or Patterson.
The guy's name? Patterson film.
Patterson film. Right. Yeah. Well, that's because that's in our age group. That's in our heads because of like unsolved mysteries and stuff.
Exactly.
Always playing it constantly.
So like in my mind, I like think Bigfoot didn't show up until like 1970, whatever.
Right. But that's when Bigfoot was huge. Was in the 70s. Yeah. Big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, so he decides to go up there. And I might fumble through some of this. This is the first story we've kind of done and researched and all that. He makes his way up there. He brings with him a pack with a bunch of different food, which he went into a lot of detail about exactly what he brought with him. Yeah, all the different snacks and coffee and snuff and all this. But
gotcha.
What I thought was kind of important, he brought a 30-30 Winchester rifle.
Oh, okay. That's like the hunter's gun,
right. Yeah. Especially in that time period.
Yeah. A 30-30, I get, assuming a lever action. It was a Winchester, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, the 30-30 lever action was like the gun, especially if you're hunting or trapping anything.
Right, exactly. So he apparently was following deer trails, and he kept moving his camp from place to place. And at one point, there was something going through his stuff at night, and he thought it was a porcupine. And so
okay.
And it kept happening for like 3 or 4 nights. And then he decided he was going to like stay awake one night. He put and I don't really understand this part of it. He put his boots inside his sleeping bag, but like not on his feet.
Interesting.
He got in his sleeping bag. I guess this is going to be important, but it's kind of weird. I don't understand how why you would do this. And he also put his gun in his sleeping bag with him.
That sort of makes sense.
Yeah. And then, I guess it probably wasn't zippers at the time, but he was in his sleeping bag, and he dozed off.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wakes up. Let's see. Let me scroll down here. I'll read some of what he says here. He says, "I was awakened by something picking me up. I was half asleep, and at first I did not remember where I was. As I began to get my wits together, I remembered I was on this prospecting trip and in my sleeping bag. My first thought was, it must be a snow slide. But there was, which that wouldn't be my first thought. But I'm also not an outdoors guy.
I also
in
wouldn't
Canada.
I also wouldn't think of a porcupine being in my stuff either. You know?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Which he kept referring to as like old Porky or something like that as he was talking about it. Yeah. Yeah, there was no snow around the camp. And then it felt like I was tossed on horseback, but I could feel whoever it was walking. So anyways, I won't like read this whole thing, but basically he comes to the realization that it's a Sasquatch while he's in a sleeping bag. And this is at night. I don't know how he like just suddenly just like, it's got to be that Sasquatch that killed the other guy in the legend.
Well, I mean, if you'd heard about it, you know.
Yeah, because I guess he was probably like thrown over a shoulder or something.
Right, yeah.
So I don't think a bear would do that. So you would you would think you were being, dragged or something by a bear. So yeah, I don't know. And apparently like his pack sack was also taken with him. So
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's also
so
important.
Like he picked up the guy and his backpack basically.
Yeah, and I don't know if the backpack was like attached or if it just that's what the Bigfoot was after. I don't know. Also don't know why the Bigfoot would pick up the person. I don't know that we've got a lot of other accounts of that happening, but I don't know.
But if they're if they're as intelligent as they say they can be.
Yeah, maybe. And so he says that it was about an hour and he was like going up and down like mountains. And
so he's not like he's just sitting there.
He's
being carried around.
Yeah, he's in his sleeping bag being carried around. But he says it's very uncomfortable and like his boot had turned like a weird way and was like sticking into like the bottom of his foot. And like his legs were going numb, but like he couldn't do anything about it. Like,
but he's not like yelling or screaming yet?
I guess not. Yeah, I mean, maybe he is, but he doesn't say it. He did mention this, which I thought was interesting. He said, what was carrying me was breathing hard and sometimes gave a slight cough.
Interesting.
So,
slight cough.
Yeah. Okay. And that's what made him think it was a Sasquatch. Like, I guess maybe it sounded kind of like a primate or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Of course, at this time, I don't know that people were thinking they were big primates, right? They were thinking they were just like these like giant, hairy, like men, I guess, or something.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah. I think it was. Yeah. I wasn't like thinking it was like a monkey, or gorilla or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
I think a lot of that ideal people have today. They think they would think it's just a bigger gorilla or whatever.
Right. Right. Exactly.
But I think the legend more holds to a more humanoid than it does to a big primate.
Right. Right. Yeah. So anyways, he goes for what he thinks, he said somewhere in here, and I can't remember, for like miles and miles and miles and miles. And then he gets dropped off in this like camp area with 3 other Sasquatch.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But this is just when it just starts getting weird. Like it's just
it's getting weird.
So it's dark and he hears them like kind of like talking to each other.
Right.
Like they're chattering is what he called it.
Yeah, that's a lot of people describe it that way.
And then he was like yelling at them because I guess maybe he thought these were like people of some sort.
Is he still in the bag?
No, he kind of got out of the bag, but his legs are numb and and so he can't like really stand
because of the boots.
Because of the
or not on his feet.
Yeah, he why did he put the boots in the bottom of the bag? But yeah, so then he's there, but then the weird thing, and I'm really gonna just kind of graze over quite a bit of this because it starts to kind of detail out stuff, but it's it's basically like a sitcom. I mean, it's like, so apparently there's the dad, the mom, and then there's like two young ones, a boy and girl. And he's stuck in this camp thing for like 2 weeks or something.
2 weeks.
Like, it's a long time. I'm dead serious. And he's just there
With the Sasquatch family.
Yeah, and like apparently it's a big enough area that like they let him like roam around. Okay? And like go down to a creek, and he can like fix his food cuz he's got stuff out of the
What
sack.
happens if he runs away?
Okay. So apparently there's this little like narrow like way to get out. I didn't really quite understand. It must have been some kind of like cliff area, because he didn't mention the little one climbing up the cliff and stuff like that. But like apparently there was only one exit point. And at one point, let's see. At one point he says, I pointed to the opening. I wanted to go out, but he stood there pushing towards me and said something that sounded like Soka, Soka.
Soka.
So there you go.
Well,
I don't
the
know what
funny
that
thing
means.
is, there's been several reports of Bigfoot language,
Really?
and that it sort of sounds like they describe it. This is how the Bigfoot community describes it, as samurai speak.
So, samurai speak?
That's just how they say it. It's just like they're like it's talking like in an Asian sort of dialect.
Weird. Huh.
And
okay.
which is
I've never heard that.
Yeah. And there's some cool once we get stuff up, maybe I can find some videos of supposed Bigfoots communicating with each other, and it sort of sounds like Asian dialect.
Weird.
Yeah.
So Soka. Yeah.
Sort of falls in line.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
There you go. Okay. So he's kind of like there. He's like fixing coffee and stuff, and like
with like the dad to Bigfoot in the morning here.
Right. Yeah.
Here comes. How was the game last night? Soka.
So,
2 weeks hanging out with the Bigfoot family.
I know, like, what the heck? But like, so and like apparently they're even like bringing them like food and stuff, like sweet grass. He described it that he would eat. But like the two little ones, he said, would like hide near a bush and just like stare at him like constantly. And then he decided he was going to offer the little one, he had like a box of snuff. So he was going to give him a little snuff. And
that's what you give to a little guy.
Yeah, exactly. 1924. And so he took the snuff and he tasted it, and then he went to the dad, and the dad tasted it and liked it, and he started to think, okay, maybe I'll use this to my advantage, because he thought maybe I can get him to, pass out or something if I can get him to eat a lot of snuff. And so
interesting.
Yeah. And so let's see. That goes on for days. Let's see. Yeah, I got the idea the old man likes snuff.
I guess, like tobacco's pretty native to our area. Maybe they like it.
Right. And this is what he said. So this was his plan. He said, if only I could get the old man to come over to me, get him to eat a full box of snuff. He said that would kill him for sure, and that way kill himself, and I wouldn't be guilty of murder.
Interesting words there.
Yeah, like he seemed to think...
Guilty of murder. He seemed to think it was a man.
Right. Yeah.
Because if it was a bear or a bear-like creature or a
Right.
wolf man or
Right.
wolf creature or dog, people think of dog men too, you wouldn't think murder. But that's not the second time that I've heard that. I've heard of a newer story of a guy who called into Coast to Coast. I'm sure if people listen to this, they know about Coast to Coast. And he called in and said he had killed a Sasquatch.
Really?
And the host had talked him in to letting the host come out to view the body. Okay. But as the night went on, the callers were calling in and basically they're like, I don't know that I'd do that. What if that's, some sort of, maybe it wasn't a Sasquatch, and stuff like that.
And it's, yeah.
And, so he talked, the people talked his way out of it. The guy was convinced it was Sasquatch though. The guy on the caller calling in.
So he killed somebody. That's what you're saying.
Well, no, I'm thinking he probably killed a Sasquatch, but it was probably also human-like, human enough to be where he second guessed what he did. That's what I think. Which is obviously what this guy's thinking.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, he said, I'm going to poison him, basically, which I'm not sure that snuff can actually do.
I don't know how the snuff was back then, though. I mean, maybe it could have.
It's just powder. It's basically snuff is just powdered tobacco.
Oh, okay.
And as somebody as big as Bigfoot, it'd probably take a whole lot of tobacco to kill a Bigfoot.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
No.
Okay, but here we go. We're about to get into his descriptions of
cool. Okay,
these
here
creatures.
we go. Here we go.
And it's a lot, but it is worth reading.
All right, here we go.
It's pretty good.
The nitty gritty.
So he starts with the girl, the young one. Okay, he says.
Interesting that he knew it was a girl.
Yeah. Well, here we go.
Yeah.
He says the girl would not hurt anybody. Her chest was flat like a boy's. No development like young ladies. It's getting weird. Here we go. He says, I am sure I could get the old man out of the way. No, I'm sure if I could get the old man out of the way, I could easily have brought this girl out with me to civilization.
Okay.
So,
So he wanted to bring her out?
He wanted to steal the girl. I don't know why. So, the young boy descriptions, it's okay. The young fellow might have been between 11 and 18 years old, about 7 feet tall, might weigh about 300 pounds. His chest would be 50 to 55 inches. His waist about 36 to 38 inches.
I think he just described me. Except for the waist. That's pretty small. He must be really, he's really slimming down there towards the end.
He starts like this, and then
it's a perfect triangle.
It's a perfect triangle. He's like that Spider-Man villain, whoever that was.
Right? Exactly.
He had wide jaws, narrow forehead that slanted upward, round. You just got me laughing too. That slanted upward, round at the back, about 4 or 5 inches higher than the forehead. So,
well, that's a basic Bigfoot description.
Right, exactly.
I mean, definitely the head.
He said the hair was about 6 inches long.
Did it say what color they were? Did it say that?
I don't see the color. We'll keep going. We'll see if that pops up. I'm going to save, he goes into the old lady next, but I'm going to save that one for last.
The old lady.
Yeah.
Okay.
Old man, he's just, He's obsessed with really strange things here when he like goes into these descriptions here. If the old man were to wear a collar, it would have had to have at least been 30 inches.
Wow. Okay.
I have no idea what size shoes they would need.
Of course, back then, people in the 20s probably, they were small.
Right. Yeah.
So
he said the soles of his feet seemed to be padded like a dog's foot, and the big toe was longer than the rest and very strong. Let's see. They were very agile. I don't think. Yeah, they might eat meat, but I never saw them eat meat or do any
really
cooking.
interesting.
Yeah. Okay. You ready for the mom's description here?
Oh boy, here we go.
She had very wide hips and a goose-like walk.
Walk. Okay.
She was not built for beauty or speed. All right, get ready for this. Some of those lovable brassieres and uplifts would have been a great improvement on her looks and her figure.
Oh my gosh.
So that was that. That was.
So I'm beginning to question his his sanity at this point,
right?
Because I would, if I was captured by from a family of Bigfoot, the last thing on my mind would be the lingerie that the mama Bigfoot would wear.
What the heck? Well, and this was 30 years later, so he's still thinking about it. Like
he's been for 30 years. He's been thinking, man, if she would have had a nice brassiere, if that bra.
So okay, this is somehow even better though. Buckle up for this. Okay. He's talking about their habits now a little bit. When they were not looking for food, the old man and the old lady were resting, but the boy and girl were always climbing something or some other exercise. Okay.
Okay.
This is a good visual. A favorite position was to take hold of his feet with his hands and balance on his rump, and then bounce forward. The idea seems to be to see how far he could go without his feet or hands touching the ground. Sometimes he made it 20 feet. So he's just like holding his feet and bouncing.
Honestly, could you not see like a chimpanzee doing the same thing?
For sure. That's why it's a funny visual, because I can see it.
I mean, you definitely could see a primate doing something like that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Because they're always like wanting to goof around,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I just watched a video yesterday and sent it to Brittany, my wife, of these two. Obviously it was like a couple, a gorilla. Like a man and a woman or girl or whatever, gorilla.
Yeah.
And male and female, I guess is a better way to put it. And the male just sitting there beside her, just grabs the female and just swings her and slings her across the zoo or whatever, So if you think about like how primates act, that's probably not quite out of the ordinary.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. All right, so we're bouncing back into the story now. He's kind of giving us, description. You can find this online if you want to read his complete description of everything.
Give the guy's name again.
Albert Ostman.
Ostman, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so he decides this is the time. He was running out of food. He's like, I got to try to get him to eat this snuff. So he encourages the old man to come over. He's pretending that it tastes really good. So he said that he's like putting stuff in.
Stuff. Yes. I love it.
And he literally
swallow it.
And he's like smacking his lips and yum yum, yeah. And so he holds it out, he holds out a pinch of it for the Sasquatch to get, but instead he grabbed the box and emptied it in his mouth, swallowed it in one gulp, and then he licked the box inside with his tongue.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it was like he was going to love it.
Yeah.
He was,
Exactly. Yeah. And so
I mean, you're going to need like a several pounds, to poison a Bigfoot.
Right. Yeah. Well, he just ate quite a bit. I don't know if it was pounds, but maybe.
Well, I mean, a box of snuff back then is probably, probably not very big.
Oh, you're right. Well, but apparently it did the trick. After a few minutes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, check it out. After a few minutes, his eyes began to
the other way.
like he'd get mad or like get hyped or
more.
something. No, it didn't go like that. After a few minutes, his eyes began to roll over in his head. He was looking straight up. I could see he was sick. And then it's like a sitcom. Then he grabbed my coffee that he had been boiling coffee.
Right.
And he emptied the whole thing in his mouth, grounds and all.
Oh my
so he's
gosh,
just desperately and chugging this stuff. And then it's probably then that
that wouldn't be what I did. I can tell you that.
And then he said, that did no good. Yeah.
The trap was set.
Yeah. Then he said he stuck his head between his legs and rolled forward a few times away from me.
Oh my gosh.
So he started doing somersaults away from him at that point. Then he began to squeal.
Well, he's losing his mind. He's losing his mind. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, you're right. He began to squeal like a stuck pig. So Albert here, he grabbed his rifle. He said to himself, "This is it." And he just
still had the rifle. I forgot about the rifle.
Yeah, he had the rifle. And then he just made a run for it. Well, no, hold on a second. He apparently had time to pack his sleeping bag. And
the guy's just rolling around on the ground. You got time to do whatever you want to.
I guess. But then, so he just, packs everything.
Where's Mama Foot at?
Yeah, well, hold on.
Mama Foot didn't care?
Hold on. He makes a running for the opening in the wall. So yeah, there must have been some kind of wall.
Oh, a wall. Okay.
Yeah, it must have been some kind of wall.
Well, you've seen it. You've heard of the structures and stuff they'll make with the trees. So maybe it was something like that.
Oh, okay. That's probably what it was. And as he gets through the opening, and he said the old lady was right behind him. Of course, you remember she was not built for speed. He said so she wouldn't have been fast.
That was important.
Yeah, but he fired a shot at the rock over her head, and
didn't want to kill it. Want to kill it
again. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, and it got scared, and then he just hightailed it out of there. He went for a long time.
Oh, wow.
And he ended up camping up on a mountain somewhere. But as it is, they never followed him, and there you go. He made it out alive.
Interesting.
And he didn't want to tell anybody because he was scared. He even says right here, I did not like to tell them I had been kidnapped by a Sasquatch, as if I had told them, they would probably have said he is crazy too. So yeah, there you go.
So 30 years later, he
came
found
out
the newspaper.
Yeah.
To tell it to.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well, a couple things. I didn't take notes on this or anything, but the guy's obviously a weirdo. I will say that.
Well, I mean, he's probably he's probably all alone all the time. He's out in the woods.
Nobody wants to be with that, and he's thinking about Bigfoot. What's going to look best on the Bigfoot chest,
and stealing the little girl Bigfoot, which means he probably saw
taking her with him.
Yeah, he saw the older one and thought, okay, the younger one will grow up. That's probably what he was thinking.
Right.
Yes, he's an odd fellow.
But that being said, there's some strange parallels to other Bigfoot stories.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the chattering. I've heard a lot about chattering from other eyewitnesses and accounts
Okay. All right.
of stuff. You know, there's actually some video. I'll send you I think it's called the Sierra footage or something like that. I'll find it and send it to you where you can hear them talking. It sounds like talking.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
And it sounds like what you would think a samurai would sound like. You know, oh yeah, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why they call it like samurai talk.
Interesting.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you're gonna have to send me some clips of that so I can hear it.
And you know, the ape-like behavior.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. For sure.
I think that's an interesting parallel to what people think of Bigfoot, you know, as a primate, you know. So that's an interesting story, you know. I think it's a shame. It seems like these stories always happen to the craziest people, you know. So
right, for sure.
So, but you know what? Yeah, I'm not out in the woods, you know. I'm not the one out there hunting them necessarily. And, you know, crazy people are usually out in the woods, you know.
Exactly.
And maybe it would be the most maybe would have the most encounters.
Right.
You know. So.
Yeah. Well, I will say for some reason the video recording stopped. So.
Okay.
Just
it'll be fine.
Yeah. Heads up on that. If you're still like listening and the video dropped out, sorry about that. We'll get all these kinks worked out.
It's all right. No worries. No worries.
No worries. But yeah, the audio's still here. So yeah, that was the story of Albert Ostman. There's probably more detailed accounts of it in other places. But yeah, it's kind of a fun story.
What do you think? You think it's believable or not? If you were going to stamp your seal of approval on it, would you stamp it?
No, there's no way. There's no way. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Why did he get kidnapped? And then, like, I get if he got kidnapped for a reason, but he got kidnapped and then just like dropped off, and then they didn't even care that he was there. Almost like,
right? They just brought him back to like, as a pet.
Right.
Or something, you know?
Yeah, and they didn't even really like go through his pack sack or anything, and which makes no sense because they were going through it before, like, you know, days before they kidnapped him.
Right.
But then after they kidnapped him, they didn't care about the food and stuff that he had in there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It is.
You know what, those I'm keeping a more open mind than I think I ever have in my entire life. Just because crazy things have happened and it's been true. You know, like there have been some crazy things that have happened. You know, I mean, imagine, you know, seeing you know, let's just say you've seen the Chinese spy balloon, but nobody else seen it, you know. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Like, obviously they were up there, you know, but, you know, it just happened. This one was the one that got national attention, you know.
Oh, so, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I gotcha.
So I'm just saying, though the guy was crazy, I just think it's interesting that there's some interesting parallels between other Bigfoot stories that I've heard.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
From seemingly credible witnesses.
But he would have heard some of those stories already by the time he was telling his story. So that could have colored his account.
Yeah, but you could say that about anything. You could say that about anybody. Story now.
Right, but we're talking about a guy that was like going to try to find a gold mine. Like he probably thought, you know, I could do some press on this. Somebody might pay me for the story. Oh,
here's a good example here's a better example of something crazy that's going on and nobody would believe you. So did you hear about the story of the of the Jewish community in New York City that was digging the tunnels under the yeah. This is
real?
a real true story of this these Orthodox, I think they were Hasidic Jews, and they were digging these tunnels, I think because like I can't remember the exact details, but they were digging these tunnels under the ground to like get between one place and another place for some reason.
Okay.
And this lady in the apartment that they were digging under kept telling her friends and family and neighbors that I keep hearing Yiddish language talking under my floor.
And everyone was like, you have lost your mind.
You've lost your mind. And sure enough, come to find out, there was actually this Jewish community that was digging this tunnel under the ground in New York City, under this lady's apartment, to get from one place to another for some hidden reason. Now, that's another conspiracy there for you. But,
that is weird.
So, my point being, weird things happen.
Yeah.
And people think you're crazy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So
you're right. Maybe it's true, but if
and I'm also not saying it's true because it sounds absolutely nuts, you know.
Yeah, I don't think it's true. You know, if you're wanting me to put my stamp down, that's my stamp. It's not real.
I could never be on a jury. I could never be on a jury, like especially in like a murder trial or something. I could never say 100% this guy killed, you know, this person because I just can't anymore.
You can see both sides of it. Like you can.
I'm too much of a conspiracy theorist for one thing. You know, we're like, even if the guy said I did it, I'd think, so what's his deal? What's his reasoning behind this?
Why is he just admitting it that easily?
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
So
yeah.
So what's the guy's name again? I keep forgetting the guy's name.
Albert Ostman.
Albert Ostman. Mr. Ostman.
Yeah.
Was a crazy person who
a little crazy.
Obviously enjoyed the Bigfoot women a little too much.
Yeah.
Enough to maybe considering taking the young one with him.
I know. It's just I mean,
I guess he's seen the mom. He's like, if I can get this
that's what I was saying.
If I can get her in some good lingerie, we could have a good life together for the rest of our life.
Well, and he also mentioned that he would like have to keep her in a cage. So it's like, dude.
This guy lost any chance of having a family life. You know? Was he married? Do you know if he was married?
I don't know. I wasn't able to find anything about that. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, well,
that was a good one.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty good. Well, if you all, the listener, have stories, email them to itsgettingweirdpodcast@gmail.com. We really would love to hear them and get you on the show.
Yeah, we really want to get people on here to hear some actual eyewitness accounts of you know, unexplained phenomenon. You know, somebody that's actually seen it. We'd love to hear your story. And you know, we're not here to make fun of anybody. We just want to hear the experience and talk about it, because you know we do believe that these things are happening, but we want to understand them.
Right.
We don't quite you know, it's obviously, you know, it's still undecided in the real world, in quotation marks, you know, but they're cool, and look forward to some social media stuff.
Right.
Follow us on Spotify. And we'll let you know when updates come a little further down the road.
Yeah. So, well, cool.
That's it. Episode 1 done.
Episode 1 done.
Thank you all for listening.
Yeah. Thanks.
And join us again next week.
Yeah.
For another story of the unknown.
Story of the unknown.
What was the book called? Stories of Unsolved Mysteries.
The Book of Unsolved Mysteries.
Book of Unsolved Mysteries. But this is It's Getting Weird podcast.
It's Getting Weird podcast.
And we'll catch y'all next week.
Yeah. All right. We'll
see ya.